Hello, everybody. I'm Peter Hopkins with United Infrared, and today we're going to demonstrate the use of the Lamont Spin Touch. We're going to show you the kinds of things it can see, and I'm going to use an example that I got today. Ooh, that's going to be good. All right, so let's bring some stuff up on the screen, and we will show you um, uh, what we got going on. All right, so first of all, this is the pool that we were looking at today. And what you can see there is the piece of equipment that was used, which is the Lamont Spin Touch. And at first glance, it was a cloudy day, so that's why it's not crystal, but it looks like a pretty clear pool. Looks good. I mean, most people would probably swim in it. Uh, so with that, we use a little, this is called the disc, and these discs you fill with pool water. And once you fill it, you put it back into that machine that you saw down here on the left, and it takes about a minute. And within a minute, it's going to come back with the result, and this is what we got. So I want to explain a little bit about the benefits of this and why would you do such a thing. Because of the fact that when you look at water during a pool inspection, your first instinct is to say, wow, it looks good. And you're going to report the physical things that you see, like, expansion joints, any damage, visual. You're going to test equipment. But I want you to understand there's a little more than that, and that is in the actual chemistry of the water and why that is important. And so I'm going to kind of bring this up a little bit bigger so you can read. So a typical pool test, these pool guys that come out and either they don't want to come back or they want the pool to look good, and they just use chemicals thinking that nobody's ever going to check their work. The problem they don't understand is the chemicals actually damage the pool almost sometimes to an irreversible position. So, you know, you probably have been in a public pool and you just felt like it was over chlorinated. Well, do you even know what that will do when it's over chlorinated? It's not just stinging your eyes, but there's damage that can happen. So this clear pool that you looked at today, there are three measurements of chlorine. There's FCl, TCl, and CCl. Now they're different. Now, when you look at a typical, like one of those swab tests, they stick it in the pool water and they just, pull it out and they look at the color and how much yellow it is determines how much chlorine. Well, those are what's called a TCl. It's only testing total chlorine, but it doesn't tell you if it's good or bad chlorine. Now, good chlorine would be free chlorine. That's how much available chlorine there is to use in the water to take care of any bacteria, chemicals, fecal matter for that. And then once that free chlorine attaches to that bacteria, then it turns into CCl or chloramines, combined chlorine. That means that chlorine is attached to a bacteria and now it's used up. Can't be used anymore. So you don't want too much CCl in your pool and you want a certain amount of FCl. The problem is that every pool test that's out there only does TCl and it doesn't tell you enough. But in this particular case, you saw the picture of the pool, and now we want to understand what's really going on. And ultimately, what this means is whether or not we're going to hire that pool guy. In fact, that's one of my most common statements at the end of a home inspection is when the buyer's there and I explain to them the chemistry of the water. I say, I forbid you from hiring this pool guy who does not know chemistry. In fact, they're supposed to be chemists, right? They should understand what they're doing. Here's the problem. So let's look at FCl. We have a level of 8.7 that was read on this pool. Now, we should be between 2 and 4 parts per million, but we're at 8.7. So what does that mean? They dumped a lot of chlorine in this water. Now, let's give the benefit of the doubt. Was it done right before I got there and they didn't mix the water? That's a possibility, but when I come in and do a test, I'm looking at this going, they dumped a chlorine bomb in this pool, trying to make it good for the home inspection. But here's the problem. That free chlorine is there and meant to be at a certain rate, and anything higher is what's going to cause problems. It can damage equipment and hurt people, right? You've ever smelt that chlorine in a pool? But let's talk about the combined chlorine. That's what starts to tell me that maybe this wasn't recently cleaned, because that number would be a lot lower have they just serviced this pool. When we get a zero point 0.7, that's over zero point 0.5, which is about the maximum threshold we should see on combined chlorine. That means that this is used up dirty water, poop, whatever it is, but the chlorine's attacked it and said, hey, get out of here. But now we've got too much combined chlorine. So that tells you a lot just in the chlorine that they bombed this pool, and it's been this way for a while because we've got too much combined chlorine. Now, one of the things that we'll look at is we'll say, okay, pH. Now, pH looks good. In fact, 7.2 to 7.8 is what our goal is, and we're at 7.4. And so some of you would say, wow, that's pretty good considering the fact that they bombed the pool and they don't have anything else right. Well, here's the problem. Let's start looking at things like alkalinity. So alkalinity is at 33 parts per million, where it should be between 80 and 120. Well, what alkalinity does is it prevents the sudden changes of pH. Here's the problem. So it's a morning time we did this inspection. Remember, just look up at the chart. I can tell you that I did this at 9:30 this morning. Uh, but we're at 33 parts per million. So as the day goes on, and the sun gets affected or whatever, or just the chemistry spurs up the water, all of a sudden that pH swing can happen. And now it can get off the charts and make things so they're not right. So what you understand is when pH gets high, you get skin rashes. When it gets low, you get stinging eyes. All these things are impacted by the chemistry of the water. So alkalinity is way too low, and if you don't have enough, your pH will swing high to low or vice versa. So let's look at the hardness now. We're at 418, which means we're over the highest level that we would like to see. Often hardness will result in pitting of the water, decking, etching of the plaster, grout dissolving. High hardness, sometimes cloudy water, rough surfaces, clogged filters, and heater inefficiency. So obviously there's a lot of things we just said there that can be impacted. So the pool guy is supposed to be maintaining this in a proper level. Now, cyanuric acid there's two chemicals that you usually see the pool guy coming out with. He's coming out with chlorine and he's coming out with acid. And that's how he's going to kind of clean up the pool a little bit and affect some of the levels. What you need to understand is the acid is like the sunblock for the chlorine. So we want to have a proper level of acid, but too much can be a problem. So again, we're a little high here, but not to the level that would be a problem. But where we do have a problem is when we go into the copper. Look at that at 0.4. Now, copper in the pool is a good thing. It's if it's in the right range, obviously. When you start getting too high, you start affecting that equipment in the pool can be damaged. You can have staining, other issues that are a result when we have high metals in that pool. So know that the chemistry of the water is very important, and taking these types of tests will give a lot of information about that pool, specifically at that given date and time. That's the argument that a lot of pool guys say, but my response is it should never be at 8.7 FCL. And on any chart, this pool has been overchlorinated and we can tell it hasn't been maintained. And so very good information for you when you're using this type of device. And it takes about a minute, guys. I stick my hand 1.5 feet down into the water. I fill that little device up with the water. I hold it level, not facing me like that. This is what you see after it's done. And you'll see these little balls inside of there. And what the device, why it's called the spin touch, is it's actually mixing the water with the chemical that's in there. So the phenyl red, which is the color that gives you those reds, and then the yellow, which is testing how much chlorine's in there. And if you look at that chlorine, you'll see it's kind of a bright yellow, and that's why we come back with that result. So you might ask, how do we deal with this with our clients? Because if the chemistry can change on a daily basis, how do we educate them to know? Well, I think you can say every parent wants to have safe water for their kids. They want to know that they can swim in it safely. Well, guess what? There is a device that homeowners can have, and it's called Sutro. You can find more about it on poolandspainspectors.com. And you can click on this QR code. You can scan your phone on it right now if you want, and it'll tell you a little bit more about this device and the benefits of it. And specifically, I do a little training on it and explaining, but basically, this device sits in the water. It's a robot. It takes 3 readings a day and it sends the signal to the homeowner's cell phone, and they know water's good. If there's any problem that's found, chlorine levels, acid levels, any of those that are off, it'll actually tell you what to do. And at the end of the day, isn't that what you're actually looking for? Is how do we know what to do? Just tell me. That's what this device does. So there's a beauty. Now, there are other things with the pool water that we can look at, and that's specifically like the Leakalyzer test. That's another device that we promote with pool and spa inspectors. But you can see as this device, kind of on an angle here, but you can see that there was a rapid loss of water in this pool. And we ended up actually with about 0.29 inches of water, and it was all a result of this. So if you can see this crack in the pool, this was losing about a third of an inch of water per day. Now, yes, you would have hopefully picked this up as part of your home inspection and been able to educate the client, but you would have been telling them, hey, we don't know if it leaks. Well, one of the advantages with using the Leakalyzer is being able to see that. So two tools that can be very beneficial for you as part of a home inspection when you're evaluating these things in the ground that are no longer 20, 40,000. You're starting at about $100,000 for a pool today, an average pool. And so with that being said, most people will spend the money with the inspector to be educated and give them that additional knowledge so they can make an educated decision moving forward. So I hope that that was beneficial for you in understanding a little bit more about what the Sutro and the Spin Touch and the Leakalyzer can do for your clients and for your business opportunity. I'm Peter Hopkins with United Infrared. If you have any questions, you can go visit our website and learn more. And I look forward to hearing from you guys. Our office number is 888-722-6447. And happy to take the call and understand, helping you understand what you can do for your business to take it to the next level. I'm Peter Hopkins.